There is a voice within you that does not speak in words. It does not shout. It does not argue or plead. It's simply island-a gentle hum beneath the noise of your mind. A sacred whisper, steady and unmoved, like the stars that keep their place long after the winds of time have passed. That voice is your higher self. And your higher self is not separate from the universe. It is the universe speaking through the temple of your being. You were never meant to feel alone. You were never meant to doubt your worth, to hustle for your wholeness, or to chase approval like a thirsty wanderer crossing deserts of misunderstanding. That ache you feel, that silent longing at the edge of every success and sorrow, is not a flaw. It is the calling of your own divinity, asking you to remember the truth that has always lived inside you. The truth is simple, though we resist it with such complexity. You are not a body with a soul. You are a soul that chose to wear a body for a time. You are not your story, not your struggle, not even your name. You are the awareness behind it all. You are the breath beneath the storm. You are the vastness watching the drama of life unfold on the screen of form. And yet, you have forgotten, as we all have. For forgetting is part of the journey. The descent into illusion was never a punishment, it was a path to awakening. The moment you chose to believe you were separate, you began the sacred process of remembering that you are not. Your higher self does not worry, it does not compare, it does not seek or strive or grasp, it simply knows. It knows that what is meant for you cannot pass you by. It knows that the universe is not a distant deity, but an ever-present intelligence moving through your every breath. It knows that even your detours are part of the map. So let us pause now and listen not with the ears, but with the heart. Let us turn inward, not to fix or analyze, but to remember, to return to the center, return to the silence. Return to the voice that has been whispering, patiently, lovingly, waiting for you to hear. This voice does not speak in fear. It does not demand that you be more, have more, do more. It says only, be still and know. Know that you are already enough. Know that you are already whole. Know that every cell in your body carries the memory of the stars, that your very being is an expression of love so vast, so ancient, it cannot be earned or lost. When you align with this voice, when you surrender the need to control and instead allow yourself to be guided, everything changes. Not because the outer world transforms, but because your relationship to it does. You begin to see with new eyes. You begin to walk not in fear, but in faith. You begin to trust not in outcomes, but in presence. The ego fears this. It clings to roles, identities, and achievements. It says, I am what I own. I am what they think. I am what I've done. But your higher self says, I am. Just that. I am. Complete, eternal, unshakable. And in that I am, you find your freedom. You are not here by chance. The timing of your breath, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the very constellation of your being, all of it has unfolded with divine intention. You are not a random collection of atoms wandering in a meaningless universe. You are a sacred note in the infinite symphony of existence. And your higher self is the conductor, always in tune, even when your human ears cannot yet hear the melody. There are no wasted moments in a life governed by awareness. Even your mistakes are part of the music. Even your heartbreaks are threads in the divine tapestry being woven through your days. The soul does not measure success by outcome, it measures depth. It asks not, did you win, but did you feel it all the way through? It asks not, were you impressive, but were you present? And so many of us live with clenched fists, gripping illusions handed to us in childhood. The illusion that we must be perfect to be loved, the illusion that our worth must be earned, the illusion that we are separate from one another. But the higher self holds its hands open, receiving, allowing, trusting in the unseen currents. It knows that real power comes not from force, but from surrender. And surrender is not defeat. Surrender is the soul's declaration. I trust the flow of the universe more than I trust my own fear. This is the quiet revolution to stop running from who you are, to stop patching up the cracks and begin seeing them as the very places where the light enters, to walk not with armor but with openness, not with resistance but with reverence. You were not born to be a container for other people's projections. You were born to be a channel, clear, vibrant, divine. And every time you deny your truth to keep someone comfortable, you dam the river of your own life. But the higher self cannot be held back forever. It will rise through dreams, through tears, through a sudden knowing that cannot be explained but cannot be denied. A knowing that says, there is more to me than I've allowed myself to live. Do you feel it? That quiet pull within? That is not anxiety, it is awakening. That is not restlessness, it is the voice of the infinite stirring your remembrance. It is the gentle unraveling of a story that never truly fit, making way for a life that was written in the stars before you were born. And that life does not begin out there. It begins now, in this breath. In the choice to trust your inner knowing more than external approval, in the willingness to sit in stillness long enough to hear the voice that never stopped speaking, only waited for your stillness. The world may never understand this path. That's okay. It wasn't written for the world. It was written for your soul. And your soul doesn't need applause. It needs alignment. It doesn't need validation. It needs truth. And your truth, however quiet, however different, is sacred. Keep listening. Let this presence deepen. Let this remembrance widen the horizons of your being. The voice of the higher self does not speak in urgency. It does not come dressed in drama or echo through the chaos of striving. It emerges in the sacred space you create when you finally stop trying to be what the world has told you to be. It arrives like the first light of dawn, soft, golden, undeniable. And when it arrives, it does not ask you to change who you are, but to reveal who you have always been beneath the layers of noise. You were taught to speak louder, try harder, be more, always more. But your higher self whispers, be less attached, less afraid, less controlled by the shifting winds of opinion. It is not more effort that brings you home to yourself. It is more allowing, more stillness, more listening. Because the path back to your truth does not lie in becoming anything new, but in the sacred unbecoming of all that is not you. There is a freedom that lives on the other side of surrender. Not the kind of surrender the world misunderstands as passivity, but the soul's surrender, a luminous yielding to the flow of life's intelligence. This surrender is the moment when you finally say, I am willing to trust something deeper than my fear. I am willing to follow the light even when the path is not fully visible. I am willing to be led by the unseen hand that has always known where I belong. And when you do, when you take that step into the invisible, you begin to see not with your eyes, but with your essence. You begin to feel the invisible current that holds the stars in place and realize it is holding you too. There is no separation. This is the illusion that keeps us in suffering, the belief that we are cut off from the source that birthed us. But the source did not create you and walk away, poured itself into you. It became you. And your higher self is that spark of source energy still burning quietly beneath every fear, every doubt, every mask you've ever worn. This is not spiritual poetry. It is the most radical truth you will ever remember. The light you seek has never been elsewhere. The peace you long for is not conditional. The guidance you pray for is not hiding in the clouds. It is here, always here. Speaking not in thunder, but in stillness. Not in commands, but in clarity. Not in pressure, but in peace. And to hear it, you must slow down. Not just your schedule, but your mind, your expectations, your identity. You must become as still as the lake that reflects the moon. Because the higher self does not raise its voice to compete with your noise. It waits. It waits until you are tired of striving, weary of performing, done with trying to be someone else. It waits until your hunger for truth becomes greater than your fear of change. And then only then it begins to speak again. Though truthfully, it never stopped. You simply began to listen. And oh, what beauty there is in listening. Not with the intent to respond or impress, but with the soft, reverent silence of one who finally realizes, I am in the presence of the sacred, and the sacred is within me. This listening births a new way of moving through the world. You begin to trust the nudges, the hunches, the unexplainable pulls towards something more authentic. You begin to say no when you once said yes to please others. You begin to say yes to the things that feed your soul, even if they make no sense on paper. Because you are no longer being driven by logic alone, you are being moved by truth. And the truth is that you were never here to fit into a mold. You were not meant to be a replica. You are a once-in-eternity expression of the infinite. And your path, though it may be misunderstood by others, is sacred simply because it is yours. Let yourself walk it. Let yourself be led by the voice that speaks in stillness. Let your soul make decisions your ego cannot comprehend. Because when the soul chooses, it chooses not for comfort, but for expansion. It chooses not for applause, but for alignment. And alignment is everything. When you are aligned, even the winds work in your favor. Even your waiting becomes sacred. Even your wounds begin to speak in poetry instead of pain. You begin to understand that nothing has ever gone wrong, that every detour, every delay, every heartbreak was a brushstroke in the masterpiece of your becoming. This is not philosophy. This is remembrance. Your higher self is not a destination to arrive at. It is the space from which you are being invited to live. And in that space, you are not a seeker, you are the sought. You are not the one who needs fixing, you are the one who has been waiting to be revealed. So take a breath, not to calm yourself, but to remember yourself. Take a breath as an act of devotion, as a declaration that you are returning not to who you were, but to who you truly are. Let the breath be the bridge between the noise and the knowing. Let your stillness become your sanctuary. Let your life become a living prayer. You are not broken, you are not behind, you are not late to your own life. These are illusions woven by the ego, a mind-made construct desperate to control what is already divinely orchestrated. Your higher self holds no such illusions. It sees with timeless eyes. It knows the difference between delay and divine timing. It knows that even the pauses are sacred, that even the stillness is movement in disguise. You were not created to be perfect, you were created to be real, to be alive, to feel the full spectrum of this human experience without losing the memory of your divinity. And yet so many of us walk through life asleep, hypnotized by labels, numbed by distraction, silenced by shame. We forget that we are not here to conform to the world. We are here to transform it, not through force, but through presence. Presence is the signature of the higher self. When you are present, truly present, you become a conduit for the divine. Your eyes become portals through which love sees. Your words become instruments through which truth sings. Your actions become prayers offered not to be noticed, but to be lived. This is the art of soul living, not driven by goals, but by grace, not motivated by fear, but moved by inner knowing. It is not passive, it is not soft. It is the fiercest kind of living because it demands everything false fall away. It requires you to walk naked into the truth of who you are, shedding every mask that once made you feel safe. And yet, you are safe. Not because the world is predictable, but because your spirit is eternal. Nothing real can be threatened, and your higher self is the only real thing about you. You have felt its pull in quiet moments, perhaps when the sun dipped below the horizon and something in you stilled. Perhaps when you stood beneath a sky of stars and remembered without words that you are a part of something vast and kind and unfathomably intelligent. Perhaps in the heartbreak that cracked you open, in the silence that followed the storm, in the surrender you never thought you'd survive. That was your higher self, not arriving, just revealed. It was never gone. It simply stepped aside while you explored the labyrinth of ego and ambition, of loss and longing. But now it steps forward again, not to take control, but to remind you that the deepest wisdom lives not in striving, but in surrender. Surrender is the sacred pivot, the holy turning point. It is not the end of the journey, it is the beginning of the true one, the one where your soul stops asking, "What should I do?" and begins asking, "What feels like truth?" The one where your energy no longer scrambles to be seen, but settles into being witnessed by the divine itself. Your worth is not tied to how much you produce. Your value is not based on how well you perform. The voice of the higher self does not count accolades. It does not seek approval. It simply exists in radiance. And the more you align with it, the less you have to prove and the more you have to offer. And what you offer is your being. There is a light in you so ancient it predates your body, your name, your memories. That light is not yours to earn. It is yours to remember. You are not waiting for a sign, you are becoming the sign. You are not chasing a path, you are the path unfolding. So walk with reverence, not because you know what lies ahead, but because you finally trust what lies within. There is no place you must arrive to be whole. Wholeness is not found at the end of effort. It is uncovered in the stillness between thoughts, in the pause between breaths, in the silence you've been taught to fear, but which has always been the doorway home. Your higher self does not race to a finish line. It walks in eternity, patient and wise, never hurried by time, never pressured by outcomes. It lives where you live when you are not performing, when you are simply being. To be is enough. To sit in a room alone and feel your own presence as sacred, that is power. To close your eyes, not in escape, but in remembrance, that is freedom. The mind will argue, it will resist the quiet. It will say, you're falling behind, you're not doing enough, you need to earn your place. But your higher self does not argue, it invites. It does not force understanding, it transmits knowing. And what you know deep down is this: there has always been more to you than what you were taught to believe. You are not the product of your past. You are not a reflection of others' opinions. You are not your trauma, your titles, or your temporary circumstances. You are the awareness beneath it, all the constant witness, the silent seer, the eternal essence. Do not shrink yourself to fit into minds too small to see your soul. Do not dim your light to match rooms that have forgotten how to shine. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were born to remember what the crowd forgot, that divinity is not something you visit in sacred buildings on sacred days. It is what you carry in your breath, in your gaze, in your willingness to live with your heart uncovered. Your higher self is not interested in smallness. It will not settle for a life lived in fear of judgment. It does not want safety that costs you your authenticity. It wants the truth, your truth, naked and unpolished and full of soul. This kind of living is rare, not because it is difficult, but because it requires unlearning. It asks you to dismantle the fortress you built around your light. It asks you to leave behind the familiar pain of pretending and step into the sacred risk of presence. Presence is the only place the soul can speak, and when it does, it doesn't need convincing. It doesn't need explanation. It simply feels like yes. A full-bodied yes that rises from the bones, that expands your chest with the weightlessness of being who you really are. And the moment you say yes to your higher self, the entire universe begins to say yes to you. Not because it changed, but because you did. You stopped seeking and started allowing. You stopped grasping and started receiving. You stopped running and started returning. And this return, this sacred homecoming, is not dramatic. It is not a grand arrival marked by trumpets and lights. It is softer, quieter. It is the moment you stop needing to explain yourself. The moment you stop trying to impress people who don't even see you. The moment you exhale fully and say, this is enough. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And reality, when lived from the soul, is holy. Your higher self is the voice of the universe. And the universe is not somewhere else, it is here, in your breath, in your being, in this moment, where nothing is missing and everything is possible. And now we arrive, not at an end, but at the great return. The path has not led us away from ourselves, but deeper into the stillness that was always waiting beneath every detour, every doubt, every desperate cry for meaning. The journey has never been one of distance, it has been one of depth. A descent not into darkness, but into the sacred womb of remembrance. And here, in this sacred hush, your higher self no longer feels like a stranger, it feels like home. You are not who you thought you were. You are not the masks you wore to be accepted, nor the wounds you carried as proof of survival. You are not even the seeker who longed for truth. You are the truth. You are the unnameable presence behind the eyes, the witness of all experiences, untouched and infinite. You are not a wave crashing through time. You are the ocean itself, endlessly forming, endlessly dissolving, endlessly whole. The ego, once loud and certain, now whispers its final pleas, its last attempts to define, to contain, to control. But its voice grows thin in the presence of your stillness. It cannot survive in the atmosphere of truth. And truth, once feared for its power to undo, now reveals itself as the greatest freedom, the liberation of being no one but yourself. The higher self has no need to arrive. It was never coming. It was always here. Not ahead of you, not outside of you, but breathing through you, waiting patiently for your surrender, for your yes. And you, brave soul, have said yes, not in words, but in presence. You have leaned into the silence. You have let go of needing to be more, and instead remembered that you are already everything. You have remembered that peace is not found, it is uncovered, that love is not given, it is awakened, that guidance is not earned, it is received in the still waters of your being, that the voice of the universe does not come in noise, but in the quiet clarity of alignment. And so now walk differently, not with urgency, but with reverence, not to become, but to express, not to reach, but to radiate. Speak from the soul, move with intention, let your presence be your message, Your truth be your compass, and your authenticity be the quiet revolution that changes everything it touches. You are not the caterpillar struggling in the cocoon. You are the butterfly remembering the sky. You are not the question. You are the answer made flesh. You are not waiting for the divine. You are the divine remembering its form. And in this remembrance, you are free. Free to feel, free to falter, free to rise again, not as a self in need of fixing, but as a soul in the act of becoming more fully itself. Let the world do what it will. Let the storms come and the seasons change. You have built your home in the one place nothing can touch the center of your own being, and from this center, all things are possible. So return now again and again to the breath, to the silence, to the light. Let it fill you, guide you, and speak through you. Let your life be a reflection of the truth too vast for words, but perfectly known in stillness. The voice of your higher self is not far. It is not lost. It is not sleeping. It is here. It is now. It is you, and you are home. Then let us not rush what was never meant to be hurried. Let us linger a little longer in this sacred space of remembrance, where the light is soft and the soul begins to rise from its long slumber. There is still more truth to breathe in, more stillness to inhabit, more beauty to reveal. For the soul is not a vessel easily emptied, it is a sky without end, and even 1,000 lifetimes would not be enough to name all its stars. So come now, beloved presence, and walk with me a little further into the silence that speaks louder than the world. Let us explore the unseen terrain that lives not on maps, but in moments. Moments where the veil thins and we remember that life is not happening to us, but through us. You are not here by accident. You were dreamed into being by the same intelligence that paints galaxies on the canvas of night. The same pulse that keeps the planets in motion beats within your chest. The same wisdom that orchestrates the seasons is written in the lines of your palms. Do you see? There is no part of you that is separate from the all. When you quiet the noise of your mind, even for a breath, the illusion of separation begins to dissolve. What felt like distance becomes intimacy. What seemed like chaos reveals its deeper order. And what once frightened you becomes sacred again, not because it changed, but because you remembered how to see. Your higher self does not need to be taught how to live. It is already fluent in the language of grace. It does not fear endings because it knows all things are beginnings in disguise. It does not cling because it sees that what is real cannot be lost. It does not resist because it has surrendered fully to the rhythm of the universe. And this rhythm, oh, how holy it island. Every inhale and exhale, every wave that crashes and recedes, every sun that sets and rises again. All of it is a sacred choreography, a divine spiral moving you ever inward, not toward perfection, but toward truth, toward that place within where all questions are answered not in words, but in knowing, where all striving falls away and only presence remains. The world may still pull at you. It may demand your attention, your energy, your loyalty, but when you are rooted in your higher self, you no longer react, you respond. You respond from clarity, not conditioning, from love, not fear, from wisdom, not wounds. And this response, it is your gift to the world. You don't need to change the entire world. That was never your burden to carry. Your task is simpler and far more powerful. Become so full of yourself that your very presence reminds others of who they are. Shine so steadily from within that others begin to see their own light reflected in your eyes. You were not meant to be a mirror of the world. You were meant to be a mirror of the divine. Let others speak in noise. You will speak in truth. Let others rush. You will move with the slowness of stars. Let others chase power. You will embody peace. This is the revolution of the soul. It does not come with banners or battles. It comes in the quiet choices. The moment you choose presence over performance, the moment you choose to listen instead of defend, the moment you walk away from what no longer resonates, not out of anger, but out of love for your own alignment. Your alignment is your altar. You worship not through rituals alone, but through the sacred way you move through your life, the way you tend to your thoughts, the way you speak when no one is listening, the way you hold your own heart in its ache and its ecstasy. You become the temple, the prayer, the offering. This too is the voice of the universe, not just in stillness, but in your footsteps, not just in silence, but in your laughter, not just in meditation, but in the way you live, love, forgive, and rise. and the rising, oh, how sacred an island. You do not rise by climbing some imagined ladder of self-improvement. You rise by sinking into truth, by falling into grace, by letting go of what you were never meant to carry and trusting that what is yours cannot miss you. There is a divine intelligence that knows your name, not your given name, but your soul name, the one written in light, the one spoken by the wind when you were born. And that name is not enough. It is not broken. It is not too late. That name is I am. And when you breathe from that name, when you think, speak, and move from that name, you stop needing to prove anything. You simply are. And in that being, you become magnetic. Not in the way the world defines it, but in the way that souls feel when they are in the presence of truth. The trees do not strive to be beautiful. They simply grow. The rivers do not ask permission to flow. They simply go where they are guided. And you too do not need permission to be who you are. You do not need to wait until you are healed to begin. You do not need to earn your place in the universe. You are already a note in the eternal song. So sing. Let your life be a melody of remembrance. Let your tears be notes of longing, and your joy the echo of the stars. Let your solitude become a sanctuary, and your presence a blessing upon the earth. There is no need to shout, no need to force. You are not here to impress, you are here to express. You are the channel through which the infinite wishes to pour itself into the world. And the clearer the channel, the more effortlessly love flows. Clear it not by effort, but by surrender. Clear it not by becoming more, but by shedding what is not you. Let the shame fall. Let the fear melt. Let the guilt dissolve. There is nothing about you that needs to be defended. Nothing that needs to be hidden. When you finally see yourself through the eyes of your higher self, you will wonder why you ever doubted your light. And in that light, others will rise. Not because you changed them, but because you reminded them. You reminded them of what it feels like to be free. You reminded them of the beauty and stillness. You reminded them that love is not something to chase, it is something to remember. And this remembering, it never ends. It is the gentle spiral inward, the never-ending return to the place you never truly left. So breathe, beloved soul. Breathe in the truth that you are not your past, not your pain, not your performance. Breathe out the story that says you must become something more to be worthy. You are already what you are seeking. You are already the voice. You are already the universe in human form. And this moment, this breath is sacred because you are in it. So let this be your vow, to no longer abandon yourself for acceptance, to no longer betray your truth for belonging, to no longer defer your joy for a day that may never come. You are the one you've been waiting for. You are the doorway and the key. You are the question and the answer. You are the silence and the sound. You are not here to earn your place. You are here to remember you are the place, the altar, the sanctuary, the light. Your higher self is not a goal. It is your eternal nature. It is not something you reach. It is something you uncover. And now you have uncovered it. And now you are free. There is a whisper in the silence of your life, a quiet breath beneath the noise, a sacred pulse beating gently in the unseen. You may not always feel it, but it is there. And though you cannot always see the plan, you must learn to trust it. We live in a world that worships the visible, the explainable, the measured and proven, but the most important parts of life, the turning points, the miracles, the awakenings arrive in mystery. They come not with a roadmap, but with a whisper, not with a schedule, but with a feeling. And if you are still enough, present enough, humble enough, you will know the plan has always been unfolding perfectly, even through your tears. There is a plan for your life, not one carved in stone by fate, but one made of fluid grace, co-created by your highest self and the divine intelligence that breathes through everything. And this plan, dear soul, is not always revealed to the eyes. It is revealed to the heart, that deeper heart that knows beyond reason, that sacred knowing that lives within your spirit, not your logic. Your ego wants a blueprint. Your soul offers trust. You see, trust is not blind faith. It is inner sight. It is the decision to lean into something greater, even when all you see is darkness. The tree does not panic when winter comes. It does not shake in fear because the leaves are gone. It knows spring is part of the plan. It trusts the unseen cycle. And you too are part of a rhythm far older and wiser than your worries. You have not missed your path. Even your detours have divine fingerprints. Even your heartbreaks were not random, they were sacred interruptions. Gentle, though painful, redirects. For what you call delays may in truth be divine timing, what you call loss may in truth be protection, and what you call failure might just be the very doorway your soul came here to walk through. There is intelligence in the unfolding, a wisdom that stretches beyond your perception. When the caterpillar is dissolving in its cocoon, it cannot imagine the wings. In fact, it feels like death. But transformation often does. To the ego, endings are terrifying, but to the soul, they are sacred, necessary. Birth rarely looks like birth. In the moment, it looks like chaos, like letting go, like everything falling apart. And so, when you're standing in the hallway between who you were and who you're becoming, when the doors are closed and the lights are dim and the answers haven't arrived, breathe. Not everything sacred comes with certainty, but everything sacred comes with guidance if you're willing to trust. That still small voice within you, that's not your imagination, that's your compass, that's your alignment. And it's speaking to you always. In the quiet moments, in the tears you don't understand, in the moments that make no sense to the world, follow that voice. Even when others can't hear it, especially then. For the truth is, not everyone will understand your journey, but they don't need to. It was never their path to walk. You are not here to be understood, you are here to be aligned. You are not here to control the plan, you are here to trust the current. Life is not about knowing what's next. It's about honoring what's now, and in the now is everything you need to grow. Let go of the need to see the entire staircase. Just take the next step. The path will appear as you walk it. The plan will reveal itself not to the mind that demands it, but to the heart that surrenders. Stop gripping so tightly to your idea of how things should look. The universe doesn't work in straight lines. It flows in spirals, in symbols, in synchronicities. And just because it's not unfolding the way you imagined, doesn't mean it's not unfolding exactly as it should. There is a season for planting and a season for harvesting, but in between there is a season of waiting, a season of stillness, a time when nothing makes sense and yet everything is being rearranged. You are in the divine waiting room. And just because the door hasn't opened yet doesn't mean it won't. It simply means the room you're about to enter requires a different version of you. That's why you've been asked to release, to surrender, to let go of what you thought was permanent, because the plan requires space, and sometimes the universe will remove what you cling to, not to punish you, but to prepare you. You were never meant to build your identity on what can be taken. Your true self is not the job, the relationship, the title, the story. Your true self is eternal. It cannot be lost. And when all else falls away, what remains is truth. So don't fear the unraveling. Don't curse the silence. There is sacredness in the unknown. There is design in the delay. And if you could zoom out far enough, if you could see what your soul sees, you'd fall to your knees in gratitude. You'd weep with relief. You'd laugh at your worries. You'd realize every step, even the ones you questioned most, brought you home. And so I say to you, as gently and firmly as I can, trust it. Trust the pauses, trust the detours, trust the people who leave, trust the doors that don't open, trust the timing that feels too slow, trust the whispers more than the noise. Trust the silence more than the scream. Trust the plan even when you can't see it, especially then. Because you are not forgotten, you are not being punished, you are being prepared. And when the preparation feels like pain, let yourself remember this. The soul speaks in symbols, not explanations. It moves through experience, not reasoning. So if life has taken something from you, it has not done so in cruelty, it has done so in alignment. What the ego sees as loss, the soul recognizes as clearing. What your eyes may not yet see is that you're being emptied, not to be diminished, but to be filled anew. The plan is not always logical, but it is always luminous. It is the light behind the storm, the current beneath the chaos. It leads you into places your mind would never choose, but that your heart will one day thank you for. Because there are truths the soul can only touch in stillness. There are awakenings that only happen in the dark. And though your instinct may be to flee discomfort, healing lives inside the discomfort you are willing to face. You don't need all the answers to move forward. You need only the willingness to walk in faith, to say yes to the mystery, to bow to the unknown not as an enemy but as a teacher. There is no true transformation without surrender, no real peace without release. Trust does not mean you understand. Trust means you allow. You allow the unfolding to teach you, to remake you, to break you open in all the right places. There is no wasted season in the eyes of the divine. Even in your waiting, you are growing. Even in your confusion, you are being led. The moments that stretch you beyond what you thought you could bear are often the ones that reveal your truest self, the self beneath the noise, the self beyond the roles, the self that remembers its eternal origin. That self doesn't need to see the plan to know it's safe. It knows it is the plan. You see, you are not separate from the intelligence of the universe. You are not some lost being trying to find your way back to God. You are not missing anything. You are not late. You are not behind. You are the presence of source in motion. You are the breath of the infinite in human form. And the very moment you surrender the illusion of control, you open the floodgates of support. Because the plan was never built around your ego, it was designed to awaken your spirit. The ego wants certainty. The soul wants expansion. And so life will not always feel safe to the ego, but it will always be sacred to the soul. Your disappointments are not punishments. They are instructions. And every instruction is whispered in the language of the heart. Listen deeply, not with your ears, but with your being. The truth is never loud. It comes softly, like a breeze moving across the stillness of a lake. You don't chase truth, you become still enough to receive it. There will be moments when the wind changes suddenly, when the ground beneath you trembles, when the walls you leaned on crumble like paper. In those moments, let go of the idea that life has gone wrong. Let go of the illusion that you were ever fully in control. What is falling away was never yours to hold forever. What remains after the storm, that is what's real. And I want to tell you this, with every fiber of my being, you are not alone in the waiting. Every soul that has walked this earth has walked through the valley of not knowing. Even the enlightened have cried in the dark. Even the awakened have doubted. So don't shame your uncertainty. See it as holy ground. See your doubt as a doorway, not a detour. Let your questions become your teachers. Because you were never meant to have all the answers. You were meant to become a space where love could answer through you. And love, the truest love, doesn't always give you clarity right away. Sometimes it gives you depth. Sometimes it gives you resilience. Sometimes it gives you nothing but a soft inner voice saying, keep going. I am here. When the outer world feels barren, when nothing makes sense, when your prayers seem to echo into a void, return to that voice, that knowing within you, that stillness that cannot be shaken. There is a center in you that has never been wounded, a core of calm beneath every storm, and from that place you will rise, not because you forced it, but because you surrendered to what was already rising in you. You don't need to see the next 10 steps. The path is not revealed in its entirety because it is not walked with the mind, it is walked with the soul. And the soul walks not in certainty, but in wonder, not in timelines, but in trust. Every time you choose presence over panic, acceptance over resistance, faith over fear, you align with that higher path. You come into harmony with the plan you were born to walk. This life is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a mystery to be embraced. And mystery is not the absence of meaning, it is the fullness of meaning beyond the mind's grasp. So rest your weary thinking, let your intellect bow to your intuition. Let your striving dissolve into softness. There is a plan, beloved. You don't always have to see it, you only need to be it. The tree does not grow by understanding the Sunday, it grows by opening to it. And you too are meant to grow not by dissecting the divine, but by opening your heart to it. There is light streaming toward you even now. There are roots growing even when you feel still. Trust that the seeds you've planted in faith will bloom when the season is right. And if the night feels too long, let it be long. Let it be sacred. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And in that planting, in that sacred burial beneath the surface of all things seen, something miraculous begins to happen. A soft unraveling, a letting go of all that was never truly you, the masks, the timelines, the constant trying. You begin to remember that your worth was never tied to your progress. Your value never depended on how clearly you could map the road ahead. You begin to feel quietly, humbly that your very presence is enough. Because, dear soul, this life is not a test you must pass. It is a dance you are meant to feel. And sometimes the music is loud and joyful, and sometimes it is faint, barely perceptible beneath the noise of your worry, but it is always there, playing, calling you inward, asking you not to control the rhythm, but to surrender to it, to trust that even the steps that feel uncertain are still part of the choreography. The plan is not always pretty. It does not always arrive wrapped in clarity. Sometimes it shows up as confusion, as loss, as the door you wanted to walk through locking itself just before you reached it. And in those moments, your old self will scream for answers, will demand reasons. But the awakened self, the soul self, will whisper instead, let go. Something greater is coming. You see, there are delays that protect your destiny. There are endings that save your soul. And there are unanswered prayers that are actually grace in disguise. You cannot always see it in the moment. In the moment, it hurts. In the moment, it feels like rejection. But from the higher view, from the seat of your soul, it is redirection, recalibration, realignment with the truth of who you really are. And who you are is not broken. Who you are is not lost. Who you are is a divine expression of infinite intelligence, learning how to remember itself. Every challenge you face is not evidence of your failure. It is evidence of your becoming. The fire in your life is not there to destroy you. It is there to burn away the illusion that you are ever less than whole. So when it all feels like too much, come back to this breath, this moment, this now. The ego lives in the future, and the past, it feeds on what was and what could be, but the soul lives in now. And in the now, there is no fear. In the now, there is only presence. There is only breath. There is only the awareness that you are still here, and that means the plan is still unfolding. The more you return to now, the more you align with the flow. And in that flow, you stop pushing, you stop striving, you start trusting. You start remembering that you are already carried, already guided, already enough. The universe is not demanding you to prove your worth, it's inviting you to remember it. And when you remember, when you really remember, something shifts. You no longer need to see around every corner. You no longer need every answer laid out in neat lines. You start to feel the sacred rhythm of surrender. You begin to see with new eyes, the ones that don't ask, what's next, but instead ask, what is here now? What is here now, waiting for your attention? What lesson, what healing, what expansion is this moment offering you, disguised beneath the surface? Look not with fear, but with faith. Because when you look through the lens of trust, even the darkest moment reveals its hidden light. This trust is not passive, it is the most courageous act of your soul. It is the audacity to keep loving, even when you've been hurt, to keep opening, even when you've been closed, to keep walking, even when you can't see the path. It is not weak to surrender. It is divine strength. The kind of strength that comes not from force, but from alignment. And yes, you will forget. You will fall back into the mind's illusions. You will crave control. You will feel fear. But each time, you can return. You can realign. You can remember, you don't have to carry it all. You never did. You are not the planner. You are the participant in something far wiser than your mind could ever grasp. The moon does not control the tide, it simply responds to the pull. The flower does not force itself to bloom, it opens when the sun calls it. And you, dear one, are just the same. You are not here to force. You are here to allow, to say yes, to release your grip on how you think it should be and step into the peace of Howard Island, because the peace doesn't come when you figure it all out. It comes when you stop needing to. When you no longer trade the joy of this moment for the illusion of a controlled future. When you realize that the mystery is not your enemy, it is your sanctuary. It is the place where all things are born. So if you find yourself in a place where nothing makes sense, where the plan feels absent, where clarity is nowhere to be found, good. You are in sacred territory. You are being invited to step beyond your understanding and into your essence. You are being asked to live from your spirit, not your script. And your spirit knows the way, even when your eyes do not. So let the mind rest now. Let it settle like sediment in a still lake. You do not need to think your way into alignment. You need only feel your way back home. There is no pressure here, no performance, just a soft returning to your center. The place within you that is always known, long before words, that something sacred is holding you, guiding you, becoming you. You are never meant to carry the burden of clarity alone. That is the role of the divine. Your task is not to define the destination, but to bring your full presence to the step you're on. Even when that step feels uncertain, even when it leads you through valleys you did not choose, For the valleys are not punishment, they are deepening. They are the fertile grounds where humility, trust, and grace take root. Sometimes life will ask you to walk blind, to move without a map, to release every plan you so carefully crafted. Not because it wants to watch you fall, but because it wants to teach you how to fly without wings you can see, how to rest in an invisible wind that lifts only when you stop resisting it. You may feel empty in those moments, but it is a holy emptiness, the kind that makes room for truth. And truth, when it arrives, doesn't shout, it doesn't argue, it simply enters you quietly like light through a crack in the wall. Suddenly, what felt like despair begins to soften. What seemed like the end begins to feel like a beginning disguised. You find yourself smiling, not because everything is perfect, but because you've stopped needing it to be. You've remembered the peace that has nothing to do with circumstances and everything to do with surrender. Trust, then, is not the absence of pain, it is the presence of purpose. Even when you are aching, even when your knees hit the ground, the universe is not absent. It is present in the ache. It is whispering through the tears. This is the shedding. This is the rebirth. And if you allow it, the very pain you tried to escape will become the doorway you walk through to your most radiant self. For the plan is not simply about outcomes, it is about becoming. It's not just about where you end up, it's about who you are on the journey. And you, dear soul, are not here to chase perfection. You are here to remember wholeness. To remember that nothing real can be taken from you and nothing false can truly sustain you. You are here to drop the mask and step into your sacred nakedness, the divine self that needs no decoration to be worthy. And how freeing it is when you stop trying to make everything happen and instead allow life to meet you where you are. To drop the heavy armor of control and simply say, I trust. Not as a last resort, but as your first response. Not as something to reach for in crisis, but as the posture of your spirit. A trust so deep that even the chaos becomes holy. This is not passivity, it is powerful receptivity. It is aligning your will with the will of the infinite and knowing that your soul's blueprint is not a product of your fears, but a design of love. There is no corner of your path that has been forgotten, no chapter of your story that is wasted. Even the parts you wish you could erase are threads in the sacred tapestry of your unfolding. And what a beautiful unfolding at Island. Not neat, not linear, not always understood by the world, but glorious in its honesty, authentic in its messiness. You are not here to impress, you are here to express, to embody, to reflect the divine, not by being flawless, but by being real, by being awake, by being willing to walk through the dark with your heart still open. The plan was never to make you perfect in the eyes of others. The plan was to awaken you to the perfection that lives behind your eyes, to help you see yourself as the universe sees you, radiant, whole, evolving, divine. You don't need to do more to become that. You need only remove what blocks you from seeing that it's already true. And so, let life remove it. Let life peel back what no longer serves. Let it take the roles you outgrew, the stories that kept you small, the expectations that made you forget your light. Don't cling to what is leaving. Don't mourn the false security of the known. What you release makes room for what is real, for what has always been yours. The path ahead may not be visible, but the presence within you is unshakable. It is the spark of God breathing through your being, guiding you not through logic, but through resonance, through intuition, through a peace that passes understanding. Trust that. Follow that. The world may ask you to justify your path, but your soul only asks you to walk it quietly, boldly, with love. Not everyone will see the plan. They don't have to. It wasn't given to them. It was whispered into your heart, into your dreams, into the quiet moments when you were too still to pretend. So stop pretending now. Let the truth breathe through you. Let the mystery be enough. Let your trust become the sanctuary where your soul finally rests. And as you rest in that sanctuary where striving ends and surrender begins, you begin to feel something ancient stirring, a kind of remembering, not in the mind, but in the marrow of your being. A knowing that was never taught to you because it was never lost. You begin to recall that life isn't something happening to you. Life is happening through you, with you, for you. Every moment, every breath, every detour is a brushstroke in the great masterpiece of your soul's becoming, and you don't need to step back to see it all. You only need to trust that the hand holding the brush knows exactly what it's doing. Even the colors you never would have chosen, even the lines that feel like mistakes, they belong. They all belong. And as you stand in the middle of your becoming, you may not always feel graceful. You may wobble, you may question, you may want to turn back, but remember this: growth is not graceful. It is sacredly messy, like birth, like the tide reshaping the shore, like the tree surrendering its leaves for a season it cannot yet see. You are not broken in these moments. You are becoming whole. You see, we've been taught to fear the unknown, to label the unclear as danger. But what if the unknown is not a void but a womb? What if the darkness isn't a sign that you're lost, but a space where the seeds of your next becoming are gestating? Can you rest there? Can you trust that not everything growing shows itself on the surface? The universe doesn't rush, and neither must you. Time is not your enemy. Time is the sacred unfolding of your becoming. Even delays serve the dance. Even silence sings if you know how to listen. So lean into this moment with reverence, not as a stepping stone to something else, but as the sacred place at Already Island. You have never been outside the plan, not for one moment, not even in your wandering, not even in your doubt. The soul doesn't lose its way, it expands by walking it. Every step you've taken, especially the ones that felt like failure, have deepened your capacity to hold what's coming. Because here's the truth: your soul is preparing to carry more light, more peace, more love. But to carry more, you must release more. You must unclench the fists of control and open your palms to receive. You must shed the armor of certainty and let the wind touch your bare spirit. That is the trust you are being asked to embody. Not the trust that says, everything will go according to my plan, but the trust that says, even if it doesn't, I will still be held. That is power. That is surrender. That is awakening. And when you live like this, when you walk through your days aligned with this inner trust, something shifts. People feel it. Life responds to it. The chaos around you may continue, but the chaos within you quiets. Because your center is no longer negotiable. Your peace is no longer circumstantial. You have stopped seeking evidence in the external and have come home to the wisdom that has always lived within you. And that wisdom says you don't have to push the river. You are the river. You don't have to chase the wind. You are the wind. You don't have to fear the path. You are the path. Let that settle. Let it breathe through you. You are not waiting for the plan to begin. You are the plan becoming conscious of itself. And the more conscious you become, the less you need to force, the less you grasp, the more you allow. And allowing isn't weakness, it's alignment. It's the quiet courage to trust what you feel more than what you fear. You are being led, always, not through loud declarations or grand signs, but through whispers, through intuition, through the soft magnetism of what resonates, what draws you, not in anxiety, but in peace. Follow that. That is your map. And remember, the mind will question, but the soul will recognize. Recognition does not come through analysis. It comes through resonance. The heart does not calculate truth, it feels it. So let your life be guided not by fear disguised as practicality, but by love disguised as curiosity. That is the energy of alignment. When you live from that energy, the destination no longer matters as much. You stop measuring your life by outcomes and start honoring it as a sacred experience. One breath, one moment, one surrendered heartbeat at a time. Because the truth is, you can't always see the plan, but you can feel the presence of the one who designed it. And that presence is not separate from you. It is you in your purest form. In your most open moment, in your keenest yes. And now, as we near the quiet closing of this inner pilgrimage, breathe once more slowly, deeply, not to prepare for an ending, but to honor a return to what was never lost, a return to the unshakable truth that has followed you in silence since the beginning. You are not wandering aimlessly, you are walking divinely. Even when you cannot see the map, the path is unfolding beneath your feet with every surrendered step. The plan was never about control, it was always about communion. Communion with your highest self, with Source, with the rhythm of life itself. And the more you let go, the more you tune in. The more you release the illusion of needing to know, the more you feel the presence of what already knows through you. That is where peace lives. Not in knowing, but in trusting. Not in arrival, but in alignment. Let your life no longer be a reaction to fear, but a devotion to faith. A faith not built on dogma or demand, but on direct experience, on the felt sense that you are connected to everything. That the same intelligence that turns seeds into forests and tides into oceans lives inside you. And it is not confused, it is not late, it is not overwhelmed, it is sure, it is steady. And it is lovingly orchestrating every turn, every pause, every breath of your becoming. So if you feel weary, rest in that knowing. If you feel lost, soften into it. You are not being asked to fix the plan. You are being asked to trust the perfection of its unfolding. And when the mind returns with its questions and doubts and demands for clarity, smile at it, hold it gently. Then turn your gaze inward once more and ask, what in this moment is asking to be trusted? And listen, because life will answer. Maybe not in the way you expect, but always in the way your soul needs. The answers are not loud, they are sacred. They appear in the spaces you've learned to honor, in the breath you didn't rush, in the silence you didn't fear, in the step you took without knowing where it would lead. That step is the plan. That moment is the plan. You are the plan. And the more you trust it, the more you illuminate it, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. Because when one person lives in trust, it ripples. When one soul chooses alignment over anxiety, love over fear, surrender over control, it shifts something in the whole. You become a living example of what it means to embody peace, to live the unseen with reverence, to walk through life not grasping for guarantees, but radiating faith. This is your invitation to live as one who trusts, not naively, but deeply, not blindly, but boldly, to walk into the unknown not as a victim of uncertainty, but as a co-creator with it. Because the unknown is not darkness, it is the womb of all light yet to be born, and you, beloved, are a midwife of that light. You are not here to predict the future. You are here to participate in its unfolding. So hold your heart open, let your spirit breathe. And remember this, you do not need to see the whole picture to be part of its beauty. You do not need to understand the design to trust the designer. The plan is loving, the plan is wise. And even now, as you listen to these words, it is alive within you. You can't always see the plan, but you can feel it. In the quiet courage to keep going, in the peace that returns when you stop resisting, in the soft clarity that whispers, you are exactly where you're meant to be. So exhale and trust it, because the plan has never once let go of you, and it never will.